There are a lot of places that we get information that we can use, and what we're going to talk about are relevant type resources, because you can't use everything that you come up with. There are certain things that are not verified and therefore are irrelevant, so to speak. So we're going to look at these and we're going to talk about what we've got. And it says, first off, we've got library resources. And when we're dealing with library resources and we think of a library, we think of books and book chapters and periodicals. And when we talk about periodicals, we talk about things that are peer reviewed. Not that that means a whole lot, but you have the books and the book chapters and the periodicals. So we're going to look at what we do with these, and we're going to talk about what they are and how we cite them, so that when we put out some information, it's not our word that we did it. No, this is where I got it from, and this is what's important with it. So citing a book. When you look at a book, you start out with the author. In this particular case, the author is H.B. Couch. You next go in with the date that the book was published. This says 1995. Then you've got the title of the book, which is Diseases of Turf Grasses. This happens to be the 3rd edition that is published by the Robert E. Krieger Publishing Corporation out of Boca Raton, Florida. And notice, you've got all this information in here. Then after that, we've got what we call the ISBN number. The ISBN number comes in a 13-digit or a 10-digit code. ISBN stands for International Standard Book Number. When you look at it, there is only going to be one book in the world that has this ISBN number, or one cited reference that has this ISBN number, and that's going to be Couch's Diseases of Turf Grasses. So when you cite this book, you cite all this material in there, and you come up with something that anybody can go out and anybody can find, strictly based on the ISBN number. And that would be your entire citation that you would have in your bibliography or wherever else. If you're looking at a book chapter, you would have the authors, and in this particular case, we've got Sheriff and Lucas. We have got the year that this was published in. We've got the title, and this says Variation in Host Specificity in the Brassica Population of Peronospora parasitica. This is found on pages 333 to 335 in Genetics and Plant Pathogenesis, which is the title of the book, that has the editors P.R. Day and G.J. Jealous. And this was published by Blackwell Scientific Publications out of Oxford. And again, there's probably an ISBN number for this as well. And if we had that, we could put that in as well. But this is your citation on that. And it's got all of this information. It's got who wrote the book chapter, what the title of them are, the page number for that, the name of the book it's in, the author or the editors of the book, and who published that particular book. Citing a periodical. Periodicals become very interesting in the way we cite them, and you've got to understand how these are properly cited. This particular case, here are your authors, the year that it was published in, the title of the publication itself, the name of the journal in which it was published, the volume number. After the volume number, you have the issue number. Now, what's the difference between the volume number and the issue number? When you look at a volume, normally most of these periodicals will publish 1 or 2 volumes per year, depending on the type of periodical it is. They will also publish issues within that volume. So if we're looking at this particular International Journal of Botany, this International Journal of Botany will say that there are 4 issues per year. This happens to be the 4th of those 4 issues. If you take something like Science, Science publishes weekly. So therefore there are going to be 52 issues of that per year. Now, I don't know whether that's broken down in 1, 2, or 3, or 4 volumes, but it could be in one volume, which means you would have, 52 different issues in that particular journal. Then it's got your page numbers. Now, one of the things you can see is you can go out and go, wait a second, they got a lot of pages in here. One of the things you have to be careful about is that when you're looking at page numbers, these issues can be numbered consecutively or not. If we take a journal such as National Geographic, and they publish 12 times a year, so there are 12 issues, and they've got 1 volume per year, what you will find is the first issue, the first volume, will start on page 1. And let's say it goes up to page 120. When you come up with the second issue of National Geographic, you will find that the second issue also starts on page 1. So therefore, it becomes very important that you put the volume number down. if you take something like science, and let's say the first issue of the year starts on page 1 and it ends on the same page 120, and you come up and you look at the second issue will actually start on page 121. So therefore, the issue number is not that important because the pages are numbered consecutively, which is why if you're looking at something like science, by the end of the year, you may be looking at page 4,375, but that is the accumulated pages over the entire year. So we have to be careful about pages, and we have to understand, the proper number in here. And here it's got a DOI number. And DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. One of the things that we have since the advent of the internet and increased storage everywhere is it is very easy to take material and transform it into a digital object. I have every last paper that I've ever published in a PDF format. A PDF format is a digital object so that I can send a copy of it to anybody at any time I so desire. So DOI becomes very important in here. DOI was created in 2000. It is housed online. So if you go and type into your search bar DOI and then this number in here, it will come up to this specific object in there. So it makes it much easier to identify. So DOIs become very interesting to be able to look at. Now, when we are dealing with this would be your entire citation of this. Notice, authors' first names are normally not written out in a citation. Very infrequently do you ever see the author's first name. This is done basically to save, besides if you have somebody named John Smith, you can't tell which John Smith it was if you have the first name or not. Journal names may be abbreviated. In this particular case, International Journal of Botany is not abbreviated. You could abbreviate it down, International, INTE, Journal, J, Botany, BOT, and by doing that, you might save some space. Whether or not you abbreviate it really doesn't matter. Just be consistent. Either you abbreviate everything or you don't abbreviate anything. Just be consistent. Do them all the same way. It doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong as long as you're consistent on it. All right? And then DOI, we said, is a digital object identifier. And these become very important in there. When we cite things, there are a lot of different ways that you can cite. I'm not going to say one is better than the other or one is more correct than the other or anything like that. What you must be, though, is you must be consistent and you must use one and only one type of convention that we talk about in here. You can go to a place like easybib.com, and easybib.com has several different ways that they can do it. They will do the easy way for you. You type in your information and it will give you the proper citation for it. There is a convention which we call MLA, which stands for Modern Language Association. And MLA, if you were to cite Couch's book, it would look like this. Now notice, they wrote out the first name. Normally we don't do this. It's got a little bit different in a print format. You've got the APA, which is the American Psychological Association method of citing. Here is the same book. Notice differences. With the other one, you've got the author, the title, publisher, date. Here you've got author, date, title, publisher. But when you look at it, one has the date in parentheses, the other does not. Does it mean one? No, it's just a different type of format. This is the AIBS, American Institute of Biological Sciences, which many of the scientific journals that we use will use as a basis for citation. And in this particular case, it says Couch, HB, 1995, disease of turf grasses, Krieger. It doesn't give you location. There's no punctuation after the names. Which one's correct? They're all correct. But when you do it, pick one and stay with it. The way I tend to tell students is go and find the major journal that you might be publishing in and use their format. They have it very well spelled out in all of these, the exact way they want. If you look at science, science is different from nature, and they're different from the proceedings of the American Phytopathological Society or the Ent Society of America. So they vary, but the thing here is to be consistent. Now we're going to talk about how we put all these together later.